Let's talk about the newest palette from Glaminatrix Cosmetics, the Barely Basic Palette. When I first opened up this palette, I immediately knew that this was going to be the perfect everyday palette, especially for me. I love the tones in here. I love the light to dark. I love the columns. And of course, I love that there are some iridescent shifty shades all the way at the top to create a big variety of different looks. If I was to create a neutral palette, I think this is pretty much almost exactly what I would curate. And this palette was sent to me in PR from Glaminatrix Cosmetics, so thank you so much for sending it over to me. So I'm going to be showing you comparison swatches to the shimmer shades, and then I will be creating 2 looks. So let's get right into it. Up a scrunchie, and it's gonna go on the outer half of my crease. And just a little bit further in here. And a little bit underneath my lower lash line. And I'm gonna wipe off the brush, and I'm going in with Pumpkin Spice on the rest of the other half of my crease. And just layering on even more. I did prime with the Natasha Denona eyeshadow primer. And then taking looks, and I'm just going to deepen up the inner corner just a tad bit. Creating a halo eye, and then going on this outer corner. But I don't want to take it out too far, and I'm going to blend it underneath my lower lash line as well. Just a little bit more on this lower lash line. I'll be applying engagement with my finger right in the center. I'm going to bring it up into my crease, and then I'm just going to make sure that it's nicely feathered into the mattes on each side, no harsh edges. And here's the finished look. For the second look, I primed with the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer, and I'm picking up Holy Grail. And that's going to go right onto the outer corner and just up into my crease. I'm going to be starting off with a darker shade this time and just laying that down. Using the Refer 13, picking up Like. And I'm going to blend that into the darker shade to feather this out. And I'm going to be creating kind of like a wing shape. Picking up a little bit more Holy Grail just out here on this outer corner and on my lower lash line. Just to bring back in that depth from blending it. Taking a clean brush with just some setting powder, I'm just going over the edges of everything. Picked up Hashtag. I'm just going to put that on an angle on my lid. Really sparkly shade. and just up a little bit, and then making sure it's blended out here. And then taking DIY, I'm gonna put that on this inner portion of my lid. Just a little bit more over here as well, and a little bit on the inner corner. And here's the second finished look. So on top of filming 2 looks, I have been using this palette this past week when I've been going into the office, so I have used it 3 more times, and I have predominantly tried it on the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer, and I definitely prefer the mattes on that primer. I think this formula gets a little bit caught up and a little bit harder to blend out on an eyeshadow primer, such as the Natasha Denona, where it has just a little bit more tack to it. All the mattes are very pigmented, and again, I really love the tones in here of these. I think Scrunchie Subscribe could have been a little bit more different. Scrunchie is definitely more vibrant, but I think it's just not different enough, especially compared to like the difference between leggings and light. As for the shimmers, these are ultra smooth and sparkly, just so beautiful. Really special kind of formula from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. These are, I would say, on par with the formulation that you might be used to from their previous most recent palettes with the smaller pans. And in terms of the Glimmering Creatures and these, I would say these are definitely more sparkly. So the Glimmering Creatures 1 and 2 are definitely less sparkly than these. They're more of like a standard shimmer metallic formula. They're not ultra sparkly, but they're definitely shiny. These are just really amped up. And then the most recent Glimmering Creatures, those were extra sparkly and a little bit textured. So this is kind of like an in-between those two, I would say, from my experience so far with this palette and also those shades, because I do have all 3 of those bundles of the Glimmering Creatures. Now, after wearing these for about 12 hours, I did experience some creasing, and that was on top of the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer. Just super common for me. And however, it took quite a few hours for them to start creasing. So nothing too extreme. I don't mind if I have to tap it out later in the day, as long as I don't have to do it every like half an hour, then I really don't mind at all. You could definitely use these on top of a tacky primer to help with that as well. I also want to show you the palette next to the All Done Up palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. This one came to mind right when I saw the color story of this one. There's definitely a couple of similarities, but I think they're quite different. I think that the shades in the All Done Up palette go just a wee bit deeper on some of the shades, and also some of the tones are different. Pouty is similar to Comet, for example, or even Review, but then other than that, Unexpected is not really in here. It's more of like a yellowy orange, and then Transform maybe a little bit similar to Share, and then Goddess to Looks. And the shades at the top of the All Done Up palette are significantly lighter than the shades in general that are in the Glaminatrix palette, with the exception of Girl Dinner and Leggings. Also, there aren't mauve tones like in the Glaminatrix palette. Kind of similar in essence a little bit, but I think they're quite different from each other, and I actually think that these will pair really nicely together. So those are some of my thoughts on the palette. Let me know in the comments below if you picked it up and what you think of it. I would love to hear your thoughts, and that's everything for the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.